fucking city. It's probably just Vancouver.
I'm recording now,
But
just by. You can keep going.
okay, whatever. So while we're gonna talk about Halloween, this Christmas commercial um starts off with aforementioned, the cowboy in the snow and his woman, and they have like a boys choir or a child's choir just going easy for you, easy for you, easy for you. And then they show the bottle of this. By the way, Stetson cologne fucking smells like it is not a good cologne.
I don't
Like
think
maybe
I've
it's too
ever. Yeah.
maybe it's too manly or something for me. I don't like the musky, like burnt wood chips and cedar smells cologne, but that's what it is. It's supposed to smell like a hat. I don't fucking know. But they do the Stetson makes it easy for you. It says available now at fucking Mervin's, even though Mervin's doesn't exist. But that commercial played every single time around like November, December. And I'm like, I can't be the only person who remembers this. Because I remember fucking everything from my youth. Shit that I shouldn't remember. I think I need to get examined because I remember the most trivial shit. And yeah, so that commercial to me, I'm like, oh, it's officially Christmas season. Is when they play the Stetson cologne commercial. Another one, which this is an example I use of like how my brain works. I remember a Fruity Pebbles Christmas commercial, start to finish, from 1988. Like, since I was 5 years old, I remembered this commercial.
I was 3 years old then. I barely remember.
Yeah. And so, I don't know how my brain does that. Like, I knew how to work a VCR at age 2. Like, something is up with my brain. But I'll do that another time because we're not going to do this show frequently, just on the big events or whatever. And so,
yeah, just when we feel like you need to talk about stuff.
So I might as well just.
And we really don't have a name for this yet.
We don't, because that's the last bit of it. But let's talk about rest, baby.
Maybe
Which
that can be something we leave to Twitter. Like, you can leave it up to Twitter, and
yeah,
maybe they can
something
come up
along
with a
those
name.
lines. But this episode, let's talk about NXT or
Halloween
next.
Havoc.
Yeah. Well, this was a good idea.
It was.
No, I appreciate the enthusiasm, though.
I love Shotzi. Oh my god, it was.
How could you not? Like, okay, so she was a delight when she would come do shows in California, and I'm like, this person is very just extra, and I love it. Like the attitude and the personality and everything else. I'm just like, all right, she's gonna be fun to watch, and she gave energy every single time.
Yeah,
like it was very contagious. And so when they signed her, everybody's just like, of course okay. And thankfully, I mean, NXT loves her because she hasn't even been in the company a year or something like that, and she's already hosting a return show.
Yeah.
For a pay-per-view that a lot of people love.
It shows how much respect she has backstage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have not heard any negativity about her, so it's
not a single thing. No.
It definitely is nice to hear that somebody is getting the right treatment, especially when it comes to that.
I know her from Hood Slam, so I know she's good people.
Yeah. Hood Slam never booked any of me, so I'm just kidding. I'm not going to judge on that, because if I were to judge on the number of companies that didn't book any of my services, then we would not have anything to talk about. So, but Hood Slam is fun. Fuck the fans, all that stuff. If there is any drama towards it, I don't know, because I'm in my 20th something year of doing this, and I'm like, dude, just tell me what to avoid because I don't have time to keep up with everything anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I've been out there for a while, but as far as I know, everything is fine. I have had pretty much with the encounters of those that I've met who've worked Hood Slam, I have had nothing but pleasantries. So I mean, so there's that. Um, but yeah, I mean, the show was excellent,
Yeah.
and they start off with a little fun animation and stuff like that, talking about the matches tonight with a really good voiceover. And I was really worried because like I went in not really knowing any of the matches. Like as soon as I would see a certain purple asshole, I'm like, nope, nope, not gonna do this. But thankfully, we did not.
Yeah.
So
Thankfully, he didn't
uh,
ruin the fun show.
he's gonna ruin next week's episode. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. Well, no, we won't briefly talk about that because it was just a Champa promo, and I could give two shits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like badly lit, barely touching my face. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna take back NXT. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
I have
So
one sentence notes on that promo. It's just
I mean, why even waste the air?
yeah.
So
No.
because it had nothing to do with Halloween Havoc. It
No,
had something to
it
do with
didn't.
next week, and it
Yeah.
had something to do with something that doesn't.
Yeah, it was just hyping next week's show.
Yeah, which we're not going to talk about
No.
because this isn't a weekly show.
No, this is not.
This is not a weekly show. You got everybody else in the world to do the weekly shows. My opinion is probably not going to be frequent, I should say, because wrestling is hit or miss a lot of times, and frankly, with everything, it is rough to even dedicate anymore.
And
So
there's just
that
a lot of it. There's too
there
much
is
wrestling.
fucking a lot of it. You got AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, fucking All Japan. You got Noah. You got Impact. You got what the fuck is the one that we're talking about today? NXT and Raw and SmackDown. Fuck Raw, by the way. Raw is the worst TV show ever. I'm just gonna say that right now. It is a shell of its former self.
It really is.
Mondays used to mean something, and now I'm just like, hey, it's Monday. Let me watch last night's Fargo, which Fargo is an excellent show. But yeah, enough of that. Let's talk about the fucking show that we meant to talk about.
Shotzi starts off the show in a spectacular manner. She
as she should. She's like
grinder.
She is dressed like a sexy gremlin goblin or something. I think it was like a zombie or something like that. But I immediately
whatever it was, it was awesome.
Yeah, I immediately thought, I'm like, is she the female gremlin from part 2? I'm like, that's kind of a deep cut. I like that.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I would have passed her to dress as that.
No.
But yeah, she starts off with the grinder and everything, and then we get a guy dressed as Jack Black from Brutal Legend.
I call him not Corbin.
Yeah, that was well. I'm talking about the guy playing the guitar. Like,
that guy.
Is it supposed to be Zach Wilde, or is it supposed to be Brutal Legend?
Him out. Yeah, no.
Well, he was part of the entrance. Nobody really pays attention to that shit. I do because I have to fucking pay attention to the details. But Damian Priest comes out headbanging like a motherfucker, which honestly, I think his theme is awesome. His theme song is pretty fun.
Pretty good, yeah.
And I'm glad they stopped doing the I'm going to shoot an arrow in the air where it lands I know not where, and it's going to be mistimed every time.
Every time.
I'm like, ooh, they need a new thing for him. Like, that's okay. But this one, like, he shoots the arrow, and they're just like, fuck it, flip the switch. Like, it hit. We're not doing this timing shit. We're just going to hit it. And he is dressed he's dressed in a Sting homage, because they mentioned on commentary that Sting was a huge influence of him because he does a stinger splash in the corner. And I noticed the gloves. I'm like, oh, he's wearing Sting's gloves. Okay, cool. But I mean, the gear kind of hinted towards it. I thought it could have done a little more, but I thought it was a little too Seth Rollins-esque. But then again, that could be said about a lot of things in WWE. Just black pleather or vinyl with minimal designs on it. But
I don't have a lot of notes on this match.
I really, it's pretty brief. I don't know why I decided to detail the fuck out of it. Like I was writing for like Gerwick.net or Coach.
I did that for a couple of them, just not this one.
Yeah. Well,
I
here's
don't
the thing.
really care about.
I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
You know that I am not the biggest Gargano fan.
Same. Yes.
Who, by the way, came out dressed in a slutty little Hot Topic lingerie number, and then killed a pumpkin.
I have him on as written as, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but he's Garbanzo in my notes.
And a lot of people are calling him Garbanzo. To which I always say Garbanzo beans actually add a bit of good to your life. They're healthy, and they do more, and they have better facial expressions. But, so I think we've lost like 75 followers. But, that's very confident. But yes, sexy gremlin Shotzi spins the wheel, and to spin the wheel to make a deal because Halloween Havoc would have that, and that was why it was a fucking great show. And lands on a Devil's Playground match, which they really, it's a nice way of, it's a fun way of saying no countouts, no disqualification, anything goes.
Falls count anywhere, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And what do you call it? Though I will say this though, the wheel spins, I don't know if they looked as rigged as it did that night, because she was spinning it, and it clearly had momentum, but it just kind of stopped on the simulation. Like, I was like, oh Jesus! Somebody said, "Oh, stop right there." And so I was just like, all right, I guess we're just not going to be subtle about this. But again, theater nerd, that shit's popping into my head. I'm like, that didn't look real enough.
Yeah, AV guy who's done a little bit of production. That's all I saw was.
Mm-hmm. I was like, come on, man. At least WCW had somebody behind the wheel, like touching it as it was spinning, so it slowed down.
Right.
But
yeah.
But what do you call it? I digress. So it landed on that. They did like the whole back and forth and stuff like that. But the thing is, though, is like when they went to commercials on that match for the picture-in-picture, it seemed like the most impactful things happened when a fucking commercial is playing. Like I put in the notes here, like, they were about to do a baton or a bat or whatever, because Sting, versus a kendo stick, and it cut to commercial, and then it shows hitting Gargano with the stairs and slamming him into the hockey wall, and then like he wraps up Gargano in the pumpkin, and I'm like, oh, please do a Friday the 13th sleeping bag kill, but he didn't. That's just me, horror nerd. And then even later in the match, it shows him get hit with a steel trash can and a crowbar and a bunch of other shit. I'm like, why did they go to commercial on this? Like, this is the worst time to do a commercial, because it looks like it hurts like hell. And I'm here being talked about like, oh, why is vaping bad for you? I'm like, what the fuck? So
vaping's bad because it might give you COVID.
Yep. So here's a quick little fact, folks. If you put something into your lungs that's not air, you're gonna fuck up your immune system and everything else. And at a time like this, you need a good immune system.
Yeah.
So
take your vitamin D. Everyone is vitamin D deficient. That's really bad right now. Get some freaking vitamin D. But this is not that type of show. So
it's not that type of show. We exercise the safety of others.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get this done real quick. Wear a mask. Wash your fucking hands. Keep your distance, you prick. It's not a bending on your freedom. Just stay alive.
Virtual Thanksgivings are a thing. You could do it
They're
on
going
Zoom.
to be a thing, yeah. If you're smart.
Please do.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about that right now.
The biggest note I have for this match is that the murderer from Scream came out and helped Gargano.
Yes, which they did not reveal. Like, I mean, mind you, I liked this match more than their takeover match. Like, I'm like, holy shit, this is actually much more interesting. They need to put more weapons stipulations in these types of matches, because, like, he fucking Gargles did a blockbuster onto or a fucking a dragon cutter, the falling back Shinryu or whatever you want to call it, onto the stairs, and it looked like it hurt. I was like, holy shit, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Why can't you do this all the time? Maybe I would have liked you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the killer from Scream comes out during this big fucking thing, and he hits Damian Priest with a pipe, and then he stands there and looking at Gargano way too fucking awkwardly and long. Like, that's one thing that WWE needs to work on, is to straight up say, look, give us 3 to 5 seconds of a dramatic stance and we're good. Like, if anything, 3 seconds, because they stand there for way too long staring at each other. Mind you, they didn't even cut to a facial expression or anything, because, well, that's asking too much of Gargano. But, and then he straight up just like, so he brings out a headstone, a tombstone, and Gargano hits Priest with it, and it crumbles, causing him to fall off this ledge that they were on, this platform, and go through a mini mausoleum, Lucha Underground style. And
Which
I'm like,
seemed
all right,
to be
cool.
made of paper mache filled with baby powder.
But hey, it looked cool.
It looked
and
really
honestly,
good.
if you were to ask me to fucking take a bump off of that onto this tiny little building, like Godzilla style, you could bet your Aunt Susie's ass I'm going through that fucking thing. And it's
of course.
So
that thing will not survive the night. No.
Yeah. So he hits him with it. He falls through it. All that shit. And then Gargano emerges from the smoke, crawling, even though he really had no reason to crawl. I guess he was just trying to look creepy.
I said he slithered onto not Corbin for the pin.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Damian Priest, I like Damian Priest, honestly. I think he's a more athletic Corbin. Mind you, I never really hated Corbin other than his fucking manager at Chili's look and all this other stuff. I think he could be a good heel. But
yes, he can. I actually, when he was on his Raw run as corporate Corbin, whatever his name was.
So the fucking Chili's manager.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that. He was the best heel throughout the company at that point. He was doing some great heel work.
He does good heel work. It's very classic territory.
Yeah.
And End of Days, always like that move. Yeah, the guy was solid.
Yeah.
It's just
there's nothing wrong with Corbin.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, putting a lot of boring matches and stuff. I still think, again, weapon stipulations do wonders for people, because I remember when Moxley was there as Ambrose, they had a shitty, boring pay-per-view match, and then on Monday Night Raw, they had a weapons match, and it rocked. I was like, why didn't you just put that in the fucking pay-per-view? Like, that would have been great. So, enough of that. He's a good brawler. Really, really good brawler.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gargano gets the cover after slithering, as you say. It was a weird emerging through the smoke. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to do the Balor entrance or what? And he gets the cover on Priest, becomes the North American champion. Yeah. Again, I liked it a lot better than their takeover match, honestly, because their takeover match was television, if anything, television style match.
And to be honest, this was the most I liked Gargano in a match. Mm-hmm. For a very long time. So
you look like a dipshit in that entrance gear, though. I'm sorry. Like, if you're, unless you are like Goddess Bunny thin, you really should not be wearing a Jack Skellington outfit. Save it for the Twiggy dudes. But anywho, Disney, we know what that is. So enough of that.
Yeah. Next we have Undisputed Era / O'Reilly, actually.
Yeah, pretty much.
Versus Pat McAfee and his boys.
Yes, so Pat McAfee, along with Oney Lorcan and some other guy. I know who he is, but he left a bad taste in my mouth, and with recent news and outbreaks in NXT. I'm like, dipshits like that British twat are the reason that this shit is probably going to be around for a bit. So... they proceed to do this whole era, Undisputed Era promo. Kyle O'Reilly comes out because we love Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, he's
and
awesome.
He comes in to confront them, and he's clearly outnumbered. And then all of a sudden, the weird boom and comes out. Pete Dunne, the cruiserweight.
Pete Dunne
comes out with 2 chairs and proceeds to hand it to Kyle, which I was honestly hoping that for it, because I like the weirdness of things. He hands him the chair, and I'm expecting both him and Kyle O'Reilly to just start going, playing the chairs like a couple of assholes, like in the
That would have been
guitars,
great.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
their musical guitarist scares off the trio, and Halloween is saved. I don't know why I think about this, but I'm like, this would be fucking stupid, and I need to see it, and it won't happen because that is too ridiculous. And why would anybody do that? Like,
Yeah.
it's just. Plus, like, you just hear the sadness of the silence while they're playing the chairs, and there's no. But then La Parka would come out, and then the living one, and which.
Aw.
Well, there's like 500 fucking La Parkas. So LA Park and all this other stuff. I don't know which one is gone. I don't know which one because Lucha, and so like all three of them start playing, and they even the playing field, and it scares everybody out of the ring. And La Parka does the dance in the middle, and Pete Dunne does it, and Kyle O'Reilly does it. But that is my dream Halloween Havoc. But that didn't happen because after scaring the trio out of the ring, Pete Dunne proceeds to hit Kyle O'Reilly in the back of the chair and stomps on him with the likes of Oni and the other guy. While McAfee is standing on the second rope, cheering and holding his hand up in victory. But then Pete Dunne does his, signature joint manipulation.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
It's the little things, folks. The little things go a long way, especially in that.
It's the most gruesome thing I'd seen in a while.
Forcing him into a Jim Breaks special, and then does his version of a pentagon, I guess, trying to break the arm of Kyle O'Reilly,
right.
And then the tag champs of Oni and the other guy.
It's more of his version of Shayna, because Shayna does,
Oh yeah, Shayna does that too. Yeah. And then they do their tag team finisher on poor Kyle, which is the elevated DDT onto a stack of chairs, which, by the way, they could have cut to a better camera angle because Kyle clearly did not hit the chair. I was like, ooh, you should have not done that camera angle. Like, you should have cut a little sooner.
I say that it's too common that we have to say that about WWE lately.
Like,
they used to never have that problem.
Don't cut to, because we're trying to not get demonetized as much as possible. But the Retribution entrance is dog shit. It is dog shit.
It really is.
So they end that whole segment with McAfee and Oni and Dunn and Dickhead.
Clearly doing a new 4-man stable.
Yeah. Which, honestly, if you were to tell me that Pat McAfee would be an interesting part of something, I would have told you, okay, yeah, probably. Because wrestling is full of those fucking surprises.
Yeah.
And Pat McAfee, honestly, like, I didn't mind the guy. I thought he was a nice change of pace to the opening show.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking tired of, like, as much as I love Renee Young and her professionalism and everything else, it was just a dry piece of wheat.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, Jerry Lawler wearing his dumbass shirts, pervert. And then you got Booker T talking about pointless shit.
Don't get me started on Booker T.
Yeah, fuck Booker T. Like, that guy is he can't think for himself. But like Pat McAfee bringing his bit of cocaine energy to it, and I'm like, all right, I kind of like this guy. Let's see where this. And then they do the whole angle with him and Adam Cole, which brief nanosecond, I was just like, okay, this is a work, right? And it was a work.
Yeah.
But the only thing that really kept me off of it was, like, they were like, fuck you and everything else. I'm like, oh, they're cussing. Holy shit. I'm like, this isn't WWE at all. But yeah,
it was a work though. It was good work.
And his match was pretty impressive. I was like, holy shit, this motherfucker put in the work.
Yeah.
Good for him. You know what? Applause.
**, it was edited, but what you saw of it was great.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Yeah, it was great.
It was entertaining. I'm not gonna be like, man, what the fuck? Why is he saying this match is great? He probably
Yeah.
doesn't even fucking like Shawn versus Brett. Like, no, fuck you, Smark. I I've been a fan for 30 something years. I know what a good match is, and I know what an entertaining match is. There's a difference, and it was an entertaining match, and Pat McAfee earned the fucking the post match
Yeah.
SEMA or whatever. So
I feel bad for Ridge Holland because he was clearly the fourth man.
yeah, but
Pete Dunne is a
that
good upgrade.
Pete Dunne was a huge upgrade, and
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like they could use a credible British guy.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah.
So next we have Regal throwing
Yeah,
Grimes
okay.
out into the
So,
parking lot.
Regal acting very fucking like, oh, I need you to go outside and everything else. I was like, man, if we could get Regal singing the Monster Mash, that would have been excellent. Like, I was working in the office late one night when Cameron Grimes was in it, all this shit. But like, he was actually extra creepy. I'm like, man, I would have been okay if Regal was the co-creeper host to Shotzi. And
Yeah.
just like, oh, well, tonight we have delectable delights. And but like he proceeds to get a very pissing in his pants Cameron Grimes uh saying like, oh, a van is coming to pick you up, and Grimes tries to get Regal on the outside, but Regal stays behind and the door closes and Grimes like, oh man, you're not going out with me. And a van the van that was talked about pulls up, and Grimes he's like, oh, I'm gonna ride in style, I'm riding shotgun. And there's a random zombie
Just some dead
or
guy in
dead
passenger.
guy in the front, and then you hear music blaring,
Yeah.
and then out pops a replacement pumpkin that they popped earlier, and oh, we need a new pumpkin, so out comes this big orange thing,
I
and
couldn't understand what that pumpkin was saying.
well, that pumpkin actually turned out for Michael P.S. Hayes, which the P.S. stands for pumpkin seeds in this particular thing. This son of a bitch was dressed up like a giant pumpkin. And of course, mentioning Bad Street because that was probably the only thing that he was really known for. Because, I mean, they were singing the song. They weren't singing the other songs that they had because they were terrible. Bad Street was the most heavily produced and best thing. And of course, he has to reference that because what else does he have? And he talks about how being on Bad Street, the last house on the right, further down the block, better you got, and then proceeds to walk off. I'm like, we really could have just not used you at all, but Michael Hayes,
It's pointless.
always,
Had nothing to do with anything.
nope, absolutely not. The man is a backstage Brutus beefcake, meaning that he is only there because he is friends with someone. He really, the son of a bitch lucked out. So, he Grimes proceeds to get into the van.
Because that's a thing.
Because they had to move the segment along. I'm like, they could have
Yeah.
they could have done something so much more with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man,
have someone
why isn't
push him into it? You know.
it's like why did they have to take Paul Bearer? Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I'm gonna say. Percy Pringle was a fucking a gem to professional wrestling, by the way. That man was a genius. But
So they drop him off at what looks like the Bray Wyatt compound.
yeah, we might as well get this shit out of the way because I don't want to talk about it further on the show.
Yeah, no, I have it all in one block on my notes.
These segments were diced up in between the show.
Yeah.
They drop them off at the same set as the Undertaker AJ Styles match, but redone.
Shot different angles, so you can't tell.
Shot at different angles. And I think it was the Wyatt house of.
Yeah, it was clearly the Wyatt place.
Yeah. And so they're this is legit because we have titles and a Marilyn Manson song. People still listen to them, right? But so like they do this whole he's walking, but then Loomis is hiding in a tree, and then he gets into the house and they turn off the copyright song. and then there he is looking in through a door, and
He
like
got
let me
scared by a tricycle, and he's
yeah,
like, "Loomis, you got kids?"
which honestly I thought that was a funny line,
Yeah, it was.
but so oh god, so here's the whole thing about that. Um, like I didn't space it out because it was so fucking brief. We'll talk about that briefness. So he goes to like he does like after a few minutes of you guys this isn't funny anymore kind of situation. So they cut to this referee who's Blair Witching in the corner. We're like, what shitty makeup job are they gonna do? They did not use a shitty makeup job.
Yeah.
They used a shitty Snapchat filter. And his face is wavy and he's wearing black lipstick or whatever. So Grimes is like, oh my god, and starts running around, and so
It was clearly a Blair Witch reference, so they had to do something.
sure, like of all the movies,
Yeah.
and then Loomis attacks him, like doing a Jason Voorhees impression, and like trying to get him through the window or whatever. I'm like, all right, that's interesting enough. Then Grimes walks into the bathroom where the silhouette of a woman showering.
Immediately pervs out. Just
yeah, he automatically assumes that he could just walk into someone's shower.
He's like, he thinks it's Loomis's sister, which makes it okay.
Yeah, which honestly is very disturbing because it's like, what was this guy planning on doing? Not a good look, NXT.
No, real bad.
But you're getting a rep for that. So he pulls back the curtain, and it's
Oops,
a performer
it's a demon.
from Six Flags. It's it's a performer from Six Flags dressed as a ghost or a zombie or some shit, who does a weird body twitch or whatever, and Grimes backs up into an open window where Loomis is and proceeds to try and choke him at a few bad looped angles. And mind you, I think some of the grunts were looped, like
I wouldn't surprise.
Like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm like, oh my god! Like, and so, he gets like pulled in. He gets pulled back by two more Snapchat filter ghosts or demons or zombies or whatever. And he moves into the living room where the shower lady is doing a weird dance, but then tries to scare him, but he doesn't really go. Like, he backs up, but she's not really moving forward as much, so it's kind of weird. And then there's obviously, clearly, another Six Flags performer on top of the fridge.
Yeah.
And jumps on his back, and he's like, And again, he goes to the outside where there's more Snapchat ghosts. He hops into the van that he arrived in, but instead of having the dead guy, it's Loomis at the wheel. Like, we're too stiff. No, but he's like, and runs off into the darkness. And that's the end of the first segment.
Right. It says to be continued at that point.
Yeah. And they show him later on in the show running down a street with a car obviously facing him, just backing up. Which is fine. Like, resourcefulness is fine. Yeah. I am not.
And it did give a good ambiance to the lighting.
It was very Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks, David Lynch kind of thing to it. I really appreciated that. I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. I'm not going to shit on that.
No.
But then he arrives at the building, and he comes back into the building where he's like he falls into the graveyard set, which they really put an effort into the set. I give them credit for that.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was enough space. There was that much space around.
Yeah, it's a different building. It's not full full sale. Right. But so he falls into this graveyard. And then out comes the Six Flag performers doing their weird shit or whatever, and he's backing up into the ring and staying there. They basically just tell him, okay, we need you to stay there so they can really display their performance. I'm like, no, that's fucking dumb. Yeah. They're doing the spider walks because, The Exorcist and Bray Wyatt and all that other stuff. So a lot of long, drawn-out bullshit. Yeah. Then Loomis takes one of the... he gets the the drop on him. They do it back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah,
But then
I
he
have
takes
a
one of
foggy match ensues.
it is definitely a foggy match. It's foggy stupid. And he picks up one of the zombies and throws it at Grimes, and
Just
then hits his finisher and his sleeper to end the match.
yeah.
Now, what I don't understand about this is that at the end, a bunch of the contortionist zombies or whatever hit the ring, including one weird fucking guy zombie who had no spot in the match previously, and they really just had to get a close up of him for some dumb reason. I'm like, who's this guy? But like the, they start gathering the ring, and so here's what I don't understand. So Loomis is supposed to just be his Dexter character
Yeah,
from Impact, right?
right.
So, did they recently start doing a thing where he's like okay with the dead or something,
Right,
or is
and
this
can
just a
control
Halloween Havoc?
demons. I
So,
haven't. No, I actually don't watch the NXT regularly. I
yeah, like were they supposed to do like was
so
this
I
trying
don't
to
know.
be like an homage to Maniac or
Yeah,
something? Because that's a I'm like this. I feel like they're trying to reference something, and I also feel like this is not normal. But
Undertaker maybe
no, that's giving
the
too much credit.
Druids.
That's still giving too much credit. Fuck Taker, but um, so they did this whole close up on the fucking one random ass new guy, and then Loomis is walking away, and they decide to make the ring go dark. Like, oh, it got Grimes, but then Loomis turns towards the camera and stares at people, and then the bloody little letters come up and it says the end. I was like, uh,
A hybrid cinematic with in-ring live. Uh,
yeah,
it was a good. It was cool. As
it was a good
as
effort. Yeah,
as a whole, like standalone, it was a cool, good effort. I enjoyed what they put together, but
yeah.
I was very confused.
Yeah, I Mystery Science Theatered the shit out of that when I was watching it. I was just like, man. So there was that part. That was
Yeah.
technically the second match
Yeah,
of the
that
night.
was yeah, that
Spread
was
out,
spread out through in. So
and then so before all that shit started,
we get Jake Atlas and Escobar.
yes, which was the match I was absolutely looking forward to because El Hijo de Fantasma is a great
Oh
wrestler, and
yeah,
Jake
yeah.
Atlas is also a great
I was
wrestler. He
upset
works in
Atlas got a
California.
jobber entrance at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, which is not a good thing.
No.
Which, by the way, like Jake Atlas was a big deal when they
It's a
signed him
huge
because
deal.
he was a huge deal. Because incredibly talented, but WWE they have to build it up, which is a good thing to let people know. Hey, he's an openly gay wrestler, and we're signing him to a contract. That is fantastic. Let's get more inclusive with this. Let's invite everybody in. But they've been building up this story of him being a jobber. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. The fact that like when I was trying to watch wrestling regularly again during all this, they were still jobbing him out. They just started jobbing him out. I'm like, okay, I hopefully this doesn't last too long. But it's been still going on.
Yeah.
Granted, there was time in between when everything was shut down.
You know what
But
really upsets me? Is
what?
they did the same thing to Sonny Kiss in AEW. So it's not like we can just blame it's WWE. They just jobbed him out to Kenny.
It is a major thing that I'm like, look, you just book the person like they're a good wrestler. If you're really if you're gonna be open about it and you're gonna mention it, like let's find a different way to overcome adversity.
Right.
Like just straight up, like people, like you say, a person like me isn't supposed to have these opportunities, but I've proven that I am the best because it doesn't define who my work rate or anything else. Like there's a better way to go about it.
Right.
And the fact that they are just straight up jobbing,
yeah,
I think that's lazy.
It really is. It's
really lazy.
They didn't need to job Sonny. They had plenty of people.
No,
I don't understand what the point
that's
was.
another show. That's another show.
Yeah, but anyway,
because we know exactly. Like, look, you could have really have just because I was looking forward to that match too.
Yeah.
But again, cut short.
Anyway,
cut short.
Atlas got a
bad
jobber
decisions.
entrance, but Escobar came out with his crew. That was freaking awesome. That
Yeah, straight up
all of his
baller.
entrances have been great.
Straight up baller. El Legado de Fantasma is a great faction, and I can't wait for WWE to fuck that up. So
Oh no.
that's how it is, man.
Uh,
If they can break up the New Day,
yeah.
they'll do that. So
Escobar
they,
wearing Mysterio inspired
from
gear,
Halloween Havoc,
which
the
was
greatest
inspired.
fucking match ever.
Yes, which was inspired by the Phantom gear. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
2 levels of obscurity in that.
Yep.
So.
And so they also have their faces painted Dia de los Muertos
Yeah,
style.
that was dope.
Because we love our dead people. And so they have what seems like what is going to be a solid cruiserweight championship defense, and you know, like right off the bat, he nails Atlas with a leg lariat that's just disgustingly like pinpoint.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was beautiful.
And so the thing is, though, is like during that match, another long, drawn out dialogue spot where he's like, "You can't beat me. You can't beat me. Just give it up. Just give it up." And I'm like, okay, they need to stop with this now, because WWE doing these long, dramatic, like turning away and then getting really angry, then do, and he blocks Jake Atlas. Bless his motherfucking soul. Puts his arm up, I want to say, because it doesn't look like a good block or defense. Puts the arm up to block Santos's punch and proceeds to unload, but he's just like, it loads up and everything. I'm like, stop with the dramatics. You can have a really good match telling story without having to do this fucking like center spotlight and let's get a close-up of the look and everything else. You're not Lucha Underground. You're not gonna get that.
Do you think they're trying to do a New Japan, only just forced?
Well, here's the thing though. It's like, the way that I see it is that when it comes to dramatics with that particular level of storytelling, U.S. wrestling can't do that.
No.
They cannot do that. Unless you straight up have different camera angles, or literally somebody is set up in a particular area to catch that moment specifically. It's not going to work. Like, it's really bad. Like, if they're going to do that, they need a better crew, and they definitely need a fucking better producer.
They need to emulate the New Japan style team where they could just have photographers and cameramans going like it's a real, like a shoot event, and they can catch all those things. That's
exactly. But
no one does that.
It didn't work.
No.
So, like, after doing the dialogue and all the other shit, I'm like literally thinking, like, guys, let's just leave the fucking Shakespearean play shit to Jay and Roman when they're in the Hell in a Cell and they don't even use the fucking cage or anything.
Very good. It was still very good.
Well, let me tell you this. The acting was good. As far as the match goes, why did they even put that in the cell?
No,
they stayed in the fucking ring most of the time. Just make it a cage match. Don't piss on Hell in a Cell. Like, what the fuck? Nobody even went off the cage.
No. Yeah.
Like, what's the point of even having it, Ventura? Like, so I digress. So, you know, in a nutshell, you can still have a good television style match if that's what if you're going to cut it short. You don't need to do long, drawn out, dramatic bullshit with it. So as the match progresses, they do some brawling to the outside, and they come. I'm getting ahead of myself. Which, by the way, the fact that, I mean, it's not really the fact that they call it the cartwheel DDT when it's a signature move. You call it the LGBTQ DDT because they don't want to offend anybody, but they want to be inclusive. In classic Rudos fashion, El Legado de Fantasma puts the leg on the rope, which causes Atlas to break his concentration and brawl with them. And then one of them put their mask back on, and it was very awkward because it seemed like a new member was coming in, but it wasn't.
Right, it was Mendoza with the mask on.
And they really just like, oh wait, it's Mendoza with a mask. I'm like, what the fuck? Was
Yeah.
there no communication, or was this just a bad choice on Mendoza's
Yeah,
part?
because they didn't
Either
actually
way,
shoot it correctly to show you that it was just Mendoza. It was
yeah,
like from the back of his head, so you couldn't even tell that it was the correct mask.
yeah. So,
Like,
which, by the way, like the entrance, it was lit for the dramatic purposes of it.
right.
You couldn't really tell what the mask looked like, anyways. Like, you didn't see the gear until after
Yeah.
the lights came back on.
And so we're left to assume that it's the mask with the metal bar in the forehead, and that's what happened because he headbutts him. But they never explain that. They never reveal at the end.
Yep.
I got the bar. It was in the thing. Oh, I got you. You know, they never do that.
Yeah, they
So-
don't. And so, the Atlas brawls with them, and he goes back inside. But Escobar nails his finisher on Atlas to retain.
Was that for
Honestly,
the title? I didn't think they never.
It was for the title, I
It
believe, or
was?
something like that. I don't
They
know.
never
I think
announced
it was.
it as for the title, but okay.
This match was rushed,
Yeah, it was.
plain, pure, and simple, which is a bummer because it had potential. I feel
Yeah.
that match should have gotten an equal amount of time
Yeah.
as anybody else, but we could have cut the dramatic horse shit down.
I
But
also didn't think the next match was that special.
are we talking about Rhea?
Yeah.
So here's the thing about that match. Like, I fucking love Rhea, not just from
Of course, yeah.
like on every standpoint. Like, I think
Yeah.
she's a fucking fantastic
She's awesome.
performer. She has a presence about her and everything else, and the typical male bullshit that I have. Raquel Gonzalez, I feel, needs to work off the cobwebs. I have my own.
Yeah, she's
I've
still a
read some
little
stuff, and I have my own personal.
She's
disdain
got
for her,
potential.
but definitely
She's
has
great.
potential.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Rhea's gear, I don't know if it was supposed to be like a combination of Nightmare Before Christmas and a homunculus from Full Metal Alchemist, because I'm a fucking nerd.
Yeah,
But
I couldn't
I'm
tell
like,
either.
okay, cool. Like, I'm like, is this Junji Ito or is this a fucking Full Metal
Right.
Alchemist? Either way,
Yeah.
I love it. I dig it.
Yeah, it was cool.
Let's do this. And so, they do, again, more dramatic bullshit with a shove-off. I'm like, what is this? No, please start brawling. And they get to the hockey-style Donnybrook. And so they do the back and forth and stuff like that. They start getting more towards the near falls. And Gonzalez does a really shitty tour of the islands. Like, where she is going to slam her one way, but then spins it around the other way. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
That wasn't a tour of the islands. That's let's go around the block a few times. Like, that wasn't... Like, that was just driving in circles at this point. And so, Rhea's incredible as usual. And mind you, during the back and forth, they were actually slugging the shit out of each other, which I give them credit for. Like, they straight up just like, boom, connecting.
They're best friends. They're going to hit each other harder,
Yeah, I was just like, fucking hell, they are potatoing. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
that helps. That they're best friends.
It definitely helps, 'cause especially when one is still kind of green.
Yeah.
But, and so, like, Rhea gets the victory. It was a fine match. I felt it could have been cut a little more, but I wasn't bored.
No, it was fine.
Like, once it was over, I'm like, that could have been just a little bit shorter, but it was
spectacular.
Yeah, it was a fine match. It was fine. So they cut back to a little video package of Walter versus Dragunov, which is going to be great. NXT UK, I feel so terrible because it is tainted with a lot of bad shit, and I actually enjoyed it, but due to recent bad decisions by that brand, I really have to be in a specific type of mood to watch it.
Yeah.
But I digress on that. We cut to something equally offensive. Drake Maverick dressed like a racist.
Yeah. I didn't even put notes on this. I seriously.
Okay, so Drake Maverick dressed like a racist, Hulk Hogan, doing an interview with a chick who frighteningly looked like she could be a Brooke Hogan stunt double. And there's a bunch of WCW nostalgia and all this other shit. A guy dressed like Andre, someone dressed like the Yeti, and they sandwich fuck Drake Hogan or whatever.
Yeah, that was
and
funny.
Killian Dane dressed as Shockmaster. I'm like, of all things.
Yeah. they couldn't do the normal, you know, costume match like they do at the house shows. So I
Nope.
think they wanted to just do something like that.
So let's make it really awkward and put fucking Hulk Hogan cosplay in there.
Yeah, they don't want to
And
do
it-
any copywritten material, so it's all WWE stuff, So
they could have done something.
just
much
not
better.
do it.
Yeah, we could have just one person could have been the Yeti, one could have been the fucking Shockmaster and Andre the Giant or whatever, or just Giant.
Right.
And then, like, anyone but Hogan. But anywho, we deal with that shit.
Next is the Ciampa promo.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
And then it's the last match, Candice and Io Shirai.
Yes, which Shotzi dressed like a devil with really big ass red eyebrows. Spins the wheel one last time. Which, by the way, the entrances of it, like Candice makes her way dressed as Sally because on Nightmare Before Christmas because Disney.
Yeah.
And then Poppy shows up.
Yeah,
like
which was
Iron
cool.
Poppy makes an appearance to lip sync Io's theme.
Clearly lip syncing.
Absolutely, undeniably, 300% lip syncing.
Yeah. It was still cool looking.
Well,
but
no, because she had no fucking emotion in the performance. She was just walking around, blah 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 blah, lip syncing. I'm like, girl, earn your fucking money. Like, just put a little effort into this shit. Like, come on, I know it's dumb, but that's what you get into when you get in the music industry.
The first 30 seconds was cool. With
the first 30 seconds was fine because she didn't have to do anything. Right. But then she got in the ring with her, and proceeded to walk around like a fucking a lost child at a mall. And so there was that, and they're like, "Oh, a new Poppy Halloween Havoc shirt happened." I'm like, "Why? She doesn't deserve my money after that shitty performance." But so Shotzi spins the wheel, and it's a tables, ladders, and stairs match.
Stairs, yeah. He said stairs.
Was it stairs or scares?
Scares. Like
scares, like ooh, spooky,
that's
scary.
Because the one spot where Candice got scared. Remember that? That's why.
Was it fake body parts?
Yeah.
Oh god.
But that was it. That was the only scare in the entire.
Honestly, man, they could have used that better. Like, fucking Io takes an arm and beats the shit out of Candice with it, or rolls the head, or does a fucking Billy Zane from Demon Knight, heads up, punches her with it. But, like, so, your standard fun TLC match, or TLS match, fuck you. It starts off hot with the dive to the outside and stuff like that, and the body parts came into play when they started bringing out. I appreciate the little bells and whistles of this match.
Yes,
though. Like
it was very fun.
The body outline on the tables and stuff. And so they're taking some pretty good hits. I mean, it's what you do. Io and Candice are fucking tough as they come, man. They are like you got Io with her Joshi background, and I've known Candice for years, and that woman takes a fucking beating.
At one point, Io is sandwiched between two ladders and is basically like, I don't want to say.
It looked painful.
Yeah.
It looked painful. I'm like, okay, this is what we need more of.
Like
I'm not saying like weapons gimmicks and everything in every women's match. Yeah. We need to see more brutality from it. Yeah. And that's definitely what was delivered. And, as the match goes on, they're doing some pretty sick spots. Like,
Io traps Candice's leg in between the ropes and a chair, and then
twists a dragon screw.
Right.
Like, again, as safe as it can be, because that's a very
that could actually hurt.
Yeah, that could actually fuck you up. Yeah. And they executed it the best way they could without hurting her, which is fine. I do not wish any ill or harm.
Never seen that before, though. That was awesome.
No, it was very inventive. Yeah. It was very fucking cool. And they do their usual setups of wedging a ladder in between the ring and the table, and then they set up two tables on the opposite side, which were called back pretty well, I feel. But then, as the match goes on, Candace does a neck breaker to the outside onto the two tables, which looked really good, honestly. Like they both landed perfectly on that. And then as the match progresses, like a really, really good match, really, really good match. The match progresses. Out comes Ghostface, which
again,
I feel was very obviously Johnny Gargano, because the other Ghostface had a bit of height and muscle to him, while as you come in with a skinnier a more accurate Ghostface. I'm like, oh, that's Gargano. Okay, whatever. And proceeds to try to help Candace by putting her on his shoulders, chicken fight style, and climbs the ladder because Candace is like 90 pounds soaking wet. And tries to help her get the title because it's a ladder match and it's for the NXT Women's Championship. Which, by the way, bravo for making that the main event.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Shotzi comes in and says, "No, motherfucker, this is my show. You're not going to ruin this match." And drops Ghostface on this stack of chairs.
Yeah. It's like an electric chair back body drop. Is that what that was? Kind
of, yeah. Electric chair fallback kind of thing. But which, by the way, early on in the matchup, those chairs were set up. It looked like EO was going to do a face buster, but then just said, "Oh, wait, we're not supposed to do anything on this yet," and switches to a backbreaker, and then proceeds to climb the stairs, climb the turnbuckles to do a moonsault, and does it perfectly because she's excellent at that.
Every moonsault she does is perfect. Yeah.
And Candace moves, and EO lands flat on those chairs. Yeah. To the point where I'm clutching my ribs because it looked like it hurt like fucking hell.
It had to. It had to.
Perfectly flat on those chairs. I'm like, baby, why? Yeah. Not for my entertainment. Yeah. No.
Like Darby, no.
So he's fine. He's one of those. He's as Linkin Park as they come. I don't give a fuck. Like, you do what you got to do. Get out that anger, frustration. But, so she had already landed on those, and then so like the bump on the other one, it looked like it was as clean as it could be, and so Candace is trying to climb. Then EO comes in with a second ladder, and eventually just tips over Candace's ladder onto the ladder set up on the outside, but it looked like Candace landed on her knee.
She did, yeah.
And then rolled to the side. It looked painful as fuck.
It really did.
Second time, though, the second angle, it looked like it was kind of like a tumble, if anything. It looked a little more safer. I'm like, she still landed on her fucking knee, man. Like that, from a high altitude on a gimmick ladder. And I was like, please be okay. Like, we don't talk anymore, but I don't want you to shorten your career for this shit. Like, and so EO climbs the ladder and grabs the belt and does her signature smile, and out comes Gargano checking on his spouse, and that is the closeout for the show. Pretty solid show.
It's very good,
yeah, very good. When it was done, I was like, all right, that wasn't too bad.
No,
yeah, good for them. Hopefully next year's Halloween Havoc, they do it again, and
I'd rate the show 4 out of 5 stars.
I do. Yeah, I do a 4 as well. Yeah. I mean, the few snafus here and there didn't really decide too much on it. Just like, all right, you could have done that better.
Yeah.
Or different. And the elements that I didn't care about, I just didn't put into factor. So, I mean, Halloween Havoc, I feel, was a very solid show. Everybody did their jobs, and I hope we get it again next year.
Yeah, it was fun.
Because WWE needs to be fucking fun.
Yes.
And a better place. So
that's a whole other episode. Maybe we'll do a whole other episode just on your thoughts on the state of companies. So, but
I'll gladly do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, granted, I don't think my opinion is this is it. This is the word I have spoken or whatever. But being still actively in wrestling and not just sitting in my fucking basement or my room spouting off the memories of everything else. I actually pay attention to the product and I understand that things evolve and not everything is going to be as the way it was when my time was around. But even then, like, nostalgia is cute, but you can't live in it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I seem to like all the new things that they're doing. I like all the new things AEW is doing. I like new
yeah,
things that WWE
all the
is doing.
good things that
Yeah.
the new stuff is doing.
Right.
And
There you go.
yeah.
But
So I mean, we could talk about that another
yeah.
day. Um,
But this was a good
but yeah,
first. Like, I guess we can call this a pilot.
it
But,
is a pilot. There's no other fucking episode. It's a pilot. Like,
yes.
what else would you call it? So,
Episode 1, but you know.
yeah, episode 1 or 0. I don't know.
Yeah. So
But this is, I don't know what this is called.
we don't have a name for it yet. So we're just gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it up, do a little bit of editing, and then get it up as soon as I can. And we'll tell everyone when we're doing the next one. So.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll
As you
figure
can tell,
out-
folks, I'm very fucking tired because I had to wake up early to do this because my producer has a tight schedule.
Hard
So-
outs at basically now. But
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is great, and we're definitely gonna do this more whenever we feel like we need something. We need Dino to talk about something. We're gonna do that.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely. And, you know, if there's things that you would like to hear me talk about, just shoot it to the old Twitter
yeah, what's your Twitter?
at Dino Winwood. All one word.
If you care, I'm at HeelMaggle, HeelMaggle.
And mine is simple spelling. So. But yes, you can do that. You can catch me on at Dub3 or the official W3. It is a weekly, 2 times a week eFed show that I do with Impact's Courtney Rush, who is a host for Impact's Rosemary, and also Andrew Everett, a former Impact talent, but also independent big dog.
Two good people.
Two amazing people.
Yes.
And we do a weekly eFed show. A lot of thought goes into it, so it's not just, let's make this match, see what happens. No, we actually have a fucking ongoing story with it, consisting of original wrestlers, quote unquote, from the old AKI wrestling games, and we make that shit work. Which, yeah, I mean, there's that. Or you can catch me at New Legacy Inc. whenever the fuck they decide to broadcast and have me on. But I am a regular member there. And if you like wrestling on the TV and like to look at the more unsigned future talents, be sure to check me out on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. As my roommate, Howdy Price. Also, Primetime Live Wrestling, which is a weekly pay-per-view. Pretty damn cheap to afford if you want to indulge in weekly wonderful wrestling. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have going on right now. But I need more to do.
Well, we're working on it. Let's go.
Oh, absolutely.
So, thanks for doing this, Dino.
No problem,
And,
man.
until next time, guys. See you later.